Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the next round in the FIA Nations Championship. This was at Autodrome Lego Maggiore in the Group 1 cars. Now I had to change my car just before this race because it looked like the Peugeot was the better car. We were running the Porsche, however in qualifying we hit the wall on our last flying lap and probably lost about half a second, which dropped me down from a possible top 10 start, I think maybe round P10, something like that, and we ended up starting right at the back of the grid, as you see there, bumping into the back of Jamie by accident. There's the knock-on effect of everyone taking that corner really slowly. I think also the difference between different cars with the hybrids and the regeneration and accelerating caused a bit of an always seemed to be a bit of an instinct going through that turn one. But going down this straight now, you can see we've got two cars behind us. We didn't start dead last, but to be honest, we should have been a lot further up. We didn't really practice this car, and it's not a car I've driven much and I particularly like, but I think after doing this race, I could get used to handling this car. But one thing we made an error of was again, giving Jamie another little tap there. I don't know if there was a bit of lag going on as well in this serve, because cars were moving around quite aggressively as Enzo just kind of goes for a bit of a dive up the inside where his hybrid takes over and we lose a position, putting us down to P18. But we're going to try and get that back because this is why the Peugeot was being used. Had very good top speed and also the fuel consumption. It was a lot easier to save fuel with, I believe. However, we were running our brake bias, I think 3 to the rear. Really, I should have had it 5 to the rear to save the front tyres more, but I didn't realise until later on in the race that we had actually made that mistake. As you see there, getting a little tap from Bam Enzo again. He was driving quite aggressively in this. I think he was on a pit stop strategy where he wanted to actually pit, where most people were doing this race without pitting, so that's possibly why he was driving really aggressively, trying to get through the drivers, and he was a little bit too aggressive on some corners, I did notice, pushing some people out of the way. But I mean, I suppose if you've got to get through with a one stop, that's the way you have to do it. But could have done it a little bit cleaner on some of the moves, but we're going to just try and follow this, and we're not going to get pushed into trying to get overtaking too many cars. I just wanted to do a lot of short shifting. You'll see on the fuel mixture, I was really just gradually short shifting through the gears, not using up the fuel now because I wanted to make sure that I could just keep the pace all the way through the race, right to the very end. Now, one thing again, like I've not had much experience with this car. We had 10 minutes to warm up with this car before we entered the lobby. The first race we did it with the Porsche, and actually I think we ended up about P11 or 12, something like that. It wasn't a great race, and again we messed up qualifying in that one, so we decided to try the Peugeot out just for something different really. It seemed to be the better car that everyone was using, so there was probably more potential with this car. However, I think I would have probably been better still going the Porsche because I do prefer the Porsche, and I had done my practice race in the lobby we did the day before with the Porsche, and we had done a reasonable race finishing time. It wasn't brilliant, but it was reasonable. Going in the Peugeot, I think might have been a little bit out of practice with this car. I've never really driven it, like I say, and it tends to be, it's a little bit different the way it handles. The Porsche's got really good grip through the corners. This car was more about top speed, as you see there. Enzo getting very aggressive through that corner ahead of us, getting ahead of Jamie. I think Jamie was in the Porsche as well. Now the Porsche wasn't too bad with the fuel consumption. One thing I think the Porsche is good for when it comes to in terms of the fuel consumption was it was able to shift early and still kick the hybrid in, so you actually didn't lose out as much speed as you thought you did. So that's why I kind of think I wish I would have stayed with the Porsche, even though it was slower overall compared to the top drivers. But I think for me personally, the Porsche would have been a better choice of car to stay in this race. As we start lap 3 now, you can see, trying to just make sure I stay with this group of cars. It was quite a big group of cars up ahead of me. You can see, I think there's up to P8 is not too far ahead. So I was thinking at this stage, just keep saving fuel and just not be drawn into trying to overtake cars by using up my fuel. I wanted to make sure I had the fuel for the end of the race. I felt like that was going to be where more opportunities would take place. As you can see now, we've just got Matty behind us. I think one driver has already quit this lobby. It looks like we're down to 18 drivers, so we're only one place back from last place. So we don't really want to finish this far back. We want to try and make sure we can gain a few positions, which I'm sure there'll be opportunities to get a little bit further up the field. And like I say, we wasn't too worried about picking up big points in this. Just with the change of car, I just wanted to try this car out and have some fun. We did actually pick up more, I think about 1,300 points in the first attempt at this, but I felt like if I could get used to this Peugeot in time, we might be able to get a better result. But with qualifying not going the way we would have liked, we were not able to really put the car in position to really fight for big points. As you see there, Bam Enzo again giving Jamie a little nudge there on the side. Some very aggressive driving, as I said before. He's obviously trying to get past everyone, pushing as hard as he can. I was quite surprised that he hadn't gone through a few more cars in this. If he was going for the one, I think he might have been going for the one-stop strategy. It would be interesting to see whether he actually goes in the pits or not, or whether he was just saving fuel and just being quite aggressive with his overtaking in general, as we now get behind Jamie and trying to see if we can find the way past, to see if we can put ourselves up another position. We can have a little look there, but again, not able to go for that move. I'm again just gonna, you can see I'm just gonna sit back and short shift, because I felt like if I sit in the slipstream I can just do a little bit more fuel saving, use their slipstream to draft me along, and just don't push too hard. You can see how close the racing is up in front of us. There's a lot of battling going on, as again Enzo nudges that car into the side, and the risk of driving like that, I think at the moment, where you're pushing cars side on, is the risk of penalties and giving other people penalties with the current penalty system. It's a little bit dangerous. As you can see there, Jamie going for the move on the inside. Is he going to go for the late break? He gets the car up on the inside and makes that move. I actually got a really good entry into that corner. Could have maybe have used a bit more fuel up and tried to go side by side with these at this point, but I decided to just back out and sit behind and not risk anything at this stage. But I'm going to have to back out the throttle there. You can see having to get out the throttle because they were battling really aggressively, and Matty as well having to do the same thing. I didn't want to get involved with how aggressively they were driving. There's Jamie now having a look on the inside. He's going to go for that move on the right hand side and get the inside into the tight hairpin, and it looks like he's going to make that move. Let's see if he can get the undercut. No, he can't, as I got a reasonably good exit there, picking up the slipstream. And again, maybe I should have been more aggressive with the fuel during some of these points, to use a bit more fuel up, but I didn't want to just burn the fuel away, because you had to be quite cautious with the fuel all the way to the end. I wanted to make sure that I had the fuel. Maybe I should have done a bit more mixture changing also through the corners. I tended to just do this this race with the Peugeot by just short shifting and not worried about the mixture change. I really should have dropped the mixture through some of the corners to not only save fuel but to also save the front tyres. As you see now, getting behind CLM on the straight and trying to pick up, and this is where I should have revved it a little bit more. You can see still short shifting, had a little look on the inside, was going to dive it up on the inside. We put it in the inside, but we have to give him space, and he holds that inside line really well. Now we're starting to get a little bit held up. I don't know if the driver in front was struggling with tyres, quite aggressively struggling with the tyres, because he seemed to be losing a lot of speed at this point. So I was starting to think I need to try and get past as Matty behind us is putting us under a lot of pressure as well. I'm picking up the slipstream now. Can I go for a move into the braking? It's going to be too far back. I was thinking about doing it, you see there, but no, it wasn't really on us. All that really does is lose me a bit of time, but it does leave the door open a little bit there if I would have got a better exit. But again, not able to do it, just continue with the short shifting. And this is where I think I should have been a bit more aggressive, because you can already see where Jamie's started to pull away now, and we're losing a bit of time and nearly losing control of the car there. But just about hanging on to it and carrying on this attack on P16 to see if we can get back past him and make our progress a little bit further up in this race. As you can see, a lot of drivers have built a bit of a gap up now ahead of P16, so I really did need to try and find a way past him, but he did seem to be struggling massively with the tyres. I'm guessing he had his bias too far to the front or something, and it was taking a lot of the front tyre wear out. I have mine 3 to the rear, but really I should have had it 5 to the rear. As you see now, going into the braking, are we able to make a move anywhere and try and get a good solid exit from any of the corners? You see now, he's really starting to struggle. You can see he's all over the track, and I thought he would have got a penalty for that when he cut that corner, but he didn't actually get one. Got very lucky with the cut that he did there, because that can sometimes give you a penalty. As I run a little bit wide there, getting a little bit of dirty air from the car in front, and that gives Matty the ability to get alongside us on the inside, and he's going to be able to go for the move. I'm going to try and brake late, because I really need to try and hold this position to see if I can get past the CLM drivers. You see there, Bam Enzo has pitted, was using a lot of fuel up there, considering he didn't actually make that much progress in the actual race. I was really confused to see that. So he was in the pits with not much fuel at all, so he's going to be right at the back again, so not the way to go really. V Cristiano had saved a bit more fuel and was further up the field as well, so he was quite far up. So again, I don't think it was the best move pitting for him, because he was well ahead of where I am at the moment, and he's now well behind. So we've only got a few laps to go in this race. As you see, drop back a bit there where Matty got past me, and now he's going to have a go at P13 and see if he can get past him. And you can see how much time we've lost to these other drivers now. Really fell back from the battle for P10, 11, 12, and I think it was up to maybe P8, I think, in the group that was battling ahead of P13. So again, now I'm going to have to see if I can find a way past as soon as possible, because Matty has managed to get that move done on the inside, obviously using a bit more fuel up. Probably what I should have done when I was behind him, instead of just worrying about fuel saving. But you learn from your mistakes. Maybe next time I think I'll just use a bit more fuel up and then save the fuel once we're past him, because he was really starting to hold me up. You can see, and this just decided I'm going to have to go for that move on the inside, put the car up on the inside, and made a nice move there through the corner and got myself past him really soon. He was really starting to struggle with them tyres at that point, so it was a little bit easier, but still I had to go for that move. I couldn't afford to get held up anymore, especially with the pit stoppers that could actually catch you up. You can see that there is quite a big distance between them cars that have pitted. However, they will gain quite a bit with the ability to drive 100% aggressive and with fresh tyres, as now we've got to try and see if we can make progress towards that group of cars that are ahead. You can see obviously everyone on different types of way of saving the fuel. Some drivers saved it at the start. I just went for a strategy of just trying to keep the consistent level of fuel consumption, so just drive it pretty much the same throughout the race, not losing too much speed at the end compared to how I was driving it at the start. But you can see now we really need to start making some progress. We've managed to pretty much peg the gap now to P13. Matty there in front of us. The gap's staying pretty stable, and that was what I was trying to do, make sure that he didn't increase it too much, because if these cars up ahead start battling, which they could start battling with the fact that everyone's just saving fuel different, some people are going to struggle more on the last few laps. My fuel was actually reasonable. Like I said, I'd done it quite consistently. I knew how I had to drive it to get to the end, and it was just basically driving it how I've been driving it all the way through the first 7 laps. As we come to hairpin, you can see the group of cars that are up ahead. I think pretty much P8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 are all in that group of cars, and if some of them are struggling, I did think maybe we could hook onto the back of them and fight for some sort of position if we can get close enough. It'll be interesting to see how close we can get to that battle. I think with getting held up so much by the driver earlier on in the race, I think if I would have got past earlier, we could have stayed on the back of that, because Jamie's right up there and we definitely had the pace to stay with Jamie. But like I say, we didn't use our fuel when it mattered, and I think that actually cost me a bit of time getting stuck behind that other Peugeot earlier on in the stint, as we're now starting the penultimate lap. So starting lap 8 now, this is going to see where this is the kind of phase where you're going to see where people struggle with tyres and also with fuel, because they start realising that they've not got many laps to go and they might be a little bit under on fuel, and they're going to have to start doing quite drastic fuel saving. And you can kind of see that is already taking place as we look ahead, and you can see how close this group of cars are gradually getting closer every corner. So they're clearly getting fuel issues. Are we going to be able to get any closer than what we are at the moment? We should be able to, because we've done reasonable fuel saving. It's not been a massive job in terms of saving too much fuel, but I've just tried to keep it as consistent as possible as we work our way up the hill into these really fast flowing corners. And let's have a look. You can see that Matty's now right on the back of that group of cars, so this really does show you that being aggressive on the fuel just for that single overtake has really helped Matty out. I think that's what I should have done, was be a little bit more aggressive early on and try and get past some of the cars and work my way into that group, and then we could have sat in the slipstream, but we didn't do that. We made the mistake, and now I've got to see if I can catch up on these final few laps. And you can see how close it is. Looking up ahead, we can see, I think it's all the way up just at the top of the hill there, going through is maybe 8, I think it is, P8 and 9 going through the top of the hill. So that shows you that there was potential to get ourselves well into the top 10, especially if we would have done a better qualifying session as we go round now to the end of lap 8. And look how close we are now. It looks like we're going to have an opportunity to make some form of overtaking on at least one car now for the final lappers. There is definitely people that are struggling with the fuel towards the end of this race, but looking behind us also, we've got the group of cars coming up very fast that are able to burn that fuel away and with fresh tyres, so they're going to be getting really close, especially if we get held up by some of these other drivers. As you can see there, the Porsche running out of hybrid on the straight and massively reducing its speed. I decided to go for that move there and not get held up, so we've managed to get past one and put ourselves up into P13, as Matty's now getting past P12 as he's struggling with the fuel. And this is all coming together now where we've managed to save that fuel for the end, the last lap, so we don't have to reduce our fuel consumption. We can just keep it the same all the way through this final lap as we get in the slipstream. Are we going to be able to make a move now? As you can see that the driver that has pitted is actually coming through there, so I dive up the inside, put myself into P12, and we've got the no stop strategy, the no stop versus the one stop now right behind us, as he's going to go for that move. You can see in the mirror he's going for the move on the car behind me, and he's right behind me now with the fresher tyres, more fuel. This is going to be really difficult to defend, and I thought I'd give it a go at defending, but if it looks like there's no point, I'll just let him go, because we've got to make sure that we get to the end of the race with the fuel, etc. As he looks on the inside there, and he's just got so much more speed and grip. He had already got his inside up, so I just decided to let him go on the inside there, brake, and then just let him go through. There was no point fighting that. You can see that we've got a gap to the cars behind. Unfortunately, that's obviously lost me a bit of time there, where I was getting a little bit closer to Matty then during that stage also, but we were running low on fuel. To be honest, we pretty much judged our fuel to perfection now as we go through these final corners. And you can see one thing I wish I would have done was put the brake bias all the way to the rear. As you can see, them front tyres are definitely struggling a little bit for grip as we come to the end of the race, and we're going to finish in P13. So we did make up some positions, but like I say, if we'd have been a bit more aggressive, we could have been fighting for that P8, 9 and 10 place around there. But unfortunately, we go over the line in P13. But again, we're not that worried, because I just did this race for fun really, as we go over the line and get that P13 again. Only just over 1,000 points. We actually got more points on our first attempt. I think we picked up 1,300 points or something, but for this race we just picked up 1,000. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that race. It was a little bit more entertaining at the end, with the different strategies coming together and some overtaking going on there. And make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks again for watching, everyone.